Welcome to the Meniscus Energy Savings Dashboard. This is a Microsoft Silverlight dashboard that uses our core Meniscus calculation engine to deliver a whole range of data on energy and consumption of energy and the potential savings that people want to achieve through monitoring of their energy data. I just wanted to really talk you through the main features of this dashboard. A lot of this can be configured for other uses and other applications, but I wanted to get an idea of what we're delivering with this particular application. So on the first part of the dashboard, we have the main toolbar. So this is associated to the main structure of the data, where we've got a company which has a site. A site can have multiple processes within it. So at the moment we've just got one company having one site and having one process associated to it, and each of these processes has a number of different areas, and then we've got individual meters which are tied up underneath these areas. So this actually is monitoring quite detailed energy consumption on a person by person basis throughout an office block. So what we've got here, so this graph at the top is displaying my energy consumption in grey. So that's my actual consumption over a period from the 1st of July 2012 through to date, and it's showing a cumulative just the energy use in grey. The blue is so the red is an energy baseline, a savings baseline. So this was really set to be an average of the first of the 30 days consumption of when we started monitoring this in this particular project. So it's setting a baseline throughout the course of the project, and then we can adjust that, and we'll show you how to adjust that baseline later on. So that's effectively saying where at the beginning of the project, this is where the particular energy consumption baseline was, and the energy savings goal, which is in blue, is we're actually showing a figure about 10% less than the target, but it's there to try to give some incentive to drive down electricity consumption for each individual user. So this top graph is actually a cumulative consumption graph of all of the other meters which are in each of these areas, aggregated up into a process, aggregated up into a site, and then aggregated up into a company level. Now, these are little sparkline graphs, and I think you'll see what these are doing in a minute. But because we've got one company having one site, having one process, each of these three top graphs is exactly the same. We've got actual kilowatt hour data. We've got a baseline. So this is how much the customer was using at the beginning of the monitoring period. This is what's been saved in terms of pounds, and this is a saving as a percentage in terms of kilowatt hours. That's a 70% saving overall across the whole site. For each of these particular areas, we can click on it. We can get a breakdown of the individual breakdown of the consumption underneath. So we've got HR department is using 21% of electricity, and the conference room is using 7.3%. And again, when you click on any of these areas, we can draw up this more detailed graph underneath, which is exactly the same as this graph at the moment, but I think you'll better understand in a minute what we're using this graph to do. But so if I just take an example and we look into the HR department, sorry, I'm going to go into the exec sales department actually. So here we've got the actual individual meters which are used to deliver this data. So the exec sales consumption data is a sum of all these particular individual meters, and the sum of all the baselines, and that's the sum of their savings. So if we wanted to look at Kenyon's desk, for example, this now graph underneath here displays the consumption for Kenyon's desk again for the whole of this period, a year and a half period. But we can use this top toolbar to drag and select a different range of data. So by moving this cursor here, we've actually reduced the data that we're analysing from the 1st of July 2012 to the September 19th 2013, and again this graph is adjusted accordingly. So if we change it again, everything else will update, and it will all update accordingly. So I'm just going to drag that back out again, so that gives us a full year and a bit data to look at. So this is the individual user's consumption. So we can see that this is where it started. So this is effectively the red line was that was the baseline. This is an average of actually over this sort of period, which you can see here. And then we've actually got quite a drop down of consumption here. So we've actually reset a target down here. Now we can see this by, if we click on the savings baseline, we can actually come up and see that there was two targets set. One is for the 16th of July, and the second one is for the 18th of October, and the appropriate values 2.16 and 0.1 and 0.5 here for the target. So let me just close that down. So basically this calculation, and this is really what the our calculation engine does, it can allow us to make all these changes, very frequent changes, all sorts of changes to calculations, and all this data is then presented up into the dashboard in a way that's already pre-processed. So we've got huge flexibility to deliver virtually any sort of data that you want within these dashboards. So this red line here is our initial energy baseline. We've now reduced that baseline down here, and that's the new baseline that we're actually hitting and achieving. We've got mouse overs on all the data, so we can see when the actual readings was for each one of these values. So we're using the savings baseline button here to set the targets for each, or the baselines for each of these particular meters, and we can also create a goal. Now this is a little bit more complicated, and at the moment this is uses our existing calculation syntax. We would like to change this in the future, but at the moment we just used our calculation syntax. So if, for example, we change that to 0.8, the savings goal would be based upon 80% of the savings baseline consumption. But I'm not going to change that for the moment. And finally, we can also just change the name of this particular meter. So if we don't like the name Kenyan Desk and we want to put it to Kenyan Printer, we've made a mistake, we can change it here and update it, and it'll update in the calculation engine, and everything will be updated in the database. So that's principally what we're delivering in this part of the dashboard. We're just trying to make this very, very clear, very succinct, to say how much has been used, what the actual savings baseline is, where we're monitoring our savings from, and how much energy has actually been saved. We also have information, which I'm just going to get the latest one. I think we've got HR. We get some more more recent data. This actually will show you our last data. Is actually going to bring up a graph of the actual kilowatt hour. So this is the current data, the kilowatt data, the actual wattage, how much power is actually being used at any one time. So again, we can use the cursor to select a period of data, and over on this right hand side we've got a drill down, or we've got a mouse over that shows us the actual individual data values. And again, we can scroll in and look at this data in more detail. So that's the purpose of this particular graph. So I'll just close that down and come back to this particular part. So this is again just an overview. HR Anita's desk is using 44% of electricity. We have got a date range. We can change date ranges in the calculation in the system. We can print and output this data that's in this particular part of the graph. That can be printed and output to Excel, and we can take a snapshot of the whole page using a PDF viewer. So I think in a very sort of summarized version, I've covered the main features of this particular dashboard. So if you'd like any more information on it, then please call Meniscus. Our contact details are on the website at www.meniscus.co.uk. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Bye.